Hey everyone, Phlashweb here. I thought I'd share with you the answer to a question I got asked earlier last week around whether or not they should, it's a client of ours, should redevelop one of their websites. And my answer is basically, well, generally it's worth doing an analysis. If you think your website needs redevelopment, the way to start doing some analysis on whether or not you need to redevelop it is, there's a few things you need to think about. What's prompted you to ask the question? Typically it'll be something like, maybe you think your site needs modernising, maybe you're losing some conversion on your website, maybe you need to add some new functionality, that kind of thing. Many times it seems, in this case at least, it's an aesthetic thing, which is that essentially this is people's business front in the digital space, right? So if I wander up and see your website and I think it looks a bit old and it's a bit broken, then immediately my digital impression of you has gone down a little bit. So if this is something that has a significant bearing on your revenue or your authority in a given market, then it's definitely something you need to think about. I think a lot of the reasons people don't do website redevelopments is because in many cases it took a lot of effort to get the first site up, and which makes sense because usually getting a site up in the first place is a lot of effort. However, redevelopment is significantly easier because all you have to do essentially is evaluate the copy you have on your website, look at whether it's still relevant, are there any additional functions you need, and then get someone to do an aesthetically improved, more current, more authoritative version of that site, and you're essentially done. So significantly less effort than creating a site from scratch. That being said, you still need to do some analysis, and to answer the question of whether or not you should do redevelopment, a lot of times it's worth just doing a competitor analysis. So depending on where your business is now relative to where it was, you may need to do something about your aesthetics, because if your current competitors' websites and you're getting traffic from the wider sort of search these days, then if your comparisons, like i.e. your competitors' sites, are looking significantly better, and that's all I've got to go on, i.e. your offers are very similar, then my instinct is going to be to go towards the one that looks the best, because that's the only differentiator I have. And believe it or not, people are quite superficial when it comes to doing business. People think they're sort of quite logical and cognitive about their decision making process, but a lot of the time it's slightly more emotional than we like to believe, and a lot of that is linked to how things look. So having something modern and authoritative can put you in a good standing position, and it's not actually that much work, as I mentioned earlier, so it's well worth getting done, and potentially it can have impacts on your revenue, because as you see, people start to see, wow, they've got a new website, you can market that, people remember you, new face, looking fresh, modern, obviously doing well, all those sort of connections and links. Also, you can really work on your conversion. If you drive traffic to your website and you use it to convert sales, then it's very worthwhile having a look at what your conversion metrics have been doing and how you can optimize them in the redevelopment. That can be significant if you've not done it before. The third thing I'd mention is it may be time for you to add some new functional requirements, not just aesthetic, because a website doesn't have to be just the front page for your client. It could also be your portal to your business, if you like. So some businesses, one recently that I was talking to, they need some portal-like functionality to perform calculations. In this case it was fitness analysis, and it made me realise that a lot of small businesses, apart from not just big businesses, small businesses also suffer from time constraints and administrative things, and that's something you can build into the back end of your website, and you know, reasonably cost effectively compared to the amount of time you probably spend doing administrative work when you could be converting clients. So functional requirements and the update to those functional requirements is also very important when you're thinking about whether you should redevelop your website. Make an assessment of how much time you spend, whether you can offload some of those things to automation, and it may be a straightforward answer to that question. So that's the main things I wanted to cover. Hope you have a good week, and I look forward to catching up with you next time.